This computer. Record to this computer. There we go. Hello, everyone. This is Dr. Roger Paul, and today, not tonight, today at 3 o'clock, Rodney had to correct me on that. Where's everybody at? Oh, there they are back there. Today, we're going to continue with our study of paper 47, Dimension Worlds, and we're in section 4 on that. If I can find it here, the second dimension world, and that starts on page 534 of the original book. So let me change the screens here. I've been adjusting a bunch of stuff because I had a wrong parameter for us to stream this, and I had to fix it. So there we go. Okay, let's go on. Diane, you want to start reading for us, too? Yeah, hang on, let me unmute. Okay.
I can't read it. It's too small.
Oh, I didn't change this screen.
Oh,
There.
so I can read that.
Easier to read.
That looks good. Okay.
All right.
For the second mansion world.
That's okay. Go ahead.
It is on this sphere that you are more fully inducted into the Mansonia life. The groupings of the Urantia life begin to take form. Working groups and social organizations start to function. Communities take on formal proportions, and the advancing mortals inaugurate new social orders and governmental arrangements.
Okay, I've got a couple of chats going on here, but I can't see them. And I'm getting echo of myself for some reason. Oh, I know what it is. Hang on. Y'all give me a second. I'm out. There we go. Have my other mic on. I got 3 mics going at the same time here, so I have to make sure which ones are on and which ones are off. Okay. So in the second mansion world, you're put into groupings because your life kind of changes in the Urantia lives, and they put you into social organizations, working groups, and communities to do specific things. All right, so you get indoctrinated into a new social order and a new government on the second mansion world. Now, remember, you've been on the first mansion world for a long time. So by now you ought to be pretty much settled in on how things work on the mansion worlds.
Roger.
Right? Yeah.
When you say you've been on the first world a long time.
Yes.
For real. Okay.
Yeah. Well, unless you get there at advanced status, then you'll only spend 10 days, which is equivalent of, for our time, about 30 days. But unless you get advanced up, remember when we talked about this before, that how when you get to the mansion worlds, they evaluate you where you are spiritually. So if you get there and you're on an advanced status, every 10 days they will kick you up to the next world until they settle you on the world where you're spiritually akin to those folks, right?
Okay. Then also, which world? The first world.
Yes.
That's where we learn to drop the mark of the beast, right?
Well, we start that. Yeah, they don't get rid of it completely till about the 6th or 7th world.
No kidding.
Yeah, that's how bad it is we are. It's not a good sign. But for some folks, when they get to that first world and they have no spiritual training, that's why these meetings and what we do online and all these things are so important about this book, is it's preparing us for advanced status by learning this. But if you get there in that first mansion world, you're totally dumb to spiritual things, it might take you 1,000,000 years to get off that first world.
Oh,
So it's because they consider you not up to snuff. They put you in a remedial class and you have to stay in that remedial class. How many years have we been studying this together, Rodney?
13?
14, 13, 14 years? Yeah. So think of it this way. When we first started studying together, if we got there on that first world, that would be 14 years of study that we've had to do together to get us to this point. Okay. So basically, these folks that get in on the first mention world with no spiritual training whatsoever are like people that know absolutely nothing.
But I think that they would feel like, and they would be totally freaked out to know that they were alive.
Yeah, they're going to be
But
freaked
again,
out. I mean, to know that they're alive, but you know, it's important for us to learn these things in this book. It's so important. It's the most important thing we do in life, really, when you think about it. Because what you're doing is you're preparing your soul and your mind for an advanced world that you're moving to. Now, if you have no concepts of what the ultimates are, or what, you know, the seven absolutes are, or any of these other things, then when you get there, you got to be trained in all of this stuff. Okay. And they talk about each one of these worlds. If you spend 1,000,000 years on each one of this years, it's okay. These worlds, it's okay. Okay, so it's not that big a deal, but to us, it's a big deal if you think about it.
well, I liken it to a really big, if you would call it a mansion, that we're going to be moving into. So we're like, it's to show us ahead of time each
Yeah.
room
Each
and what
world,
to expect.
yeah, what to expect, what we're going to learn on each one of these, so you are not totally set aback. Now, remember, there are worlds out there right now that are closer to light and life. And when these individuals get to the mansion worlds, they skip over all of them, some of them, because they're on their world, their spiritual life is so far advanced us, they would consider us like the ants, right? You know, think about it, because
pretty smart.
yeah, the ants are pretty smart. I hate to insert maybe more monkeys, right? I'm not sure.
Funny monkeys.
Yeah, funny monkeys. but the fact is that there are worlds that are developing humans that are advanced from birth. You know, they start out in a spiritual life. They go through their whole upbringing as spiritual life, and you have to think of it as being akin to the children on the worlds that the children that go on to the father's world in the nurseries, because they're raised in a spiritual aspect from the very start. So by the time they hit 15 or 16, they're ready to go on. They're not like us. Okay. So when you compare our lives and how stupid and how we completely run our lives associated with money, and doing things that's not important to you when you leave this world, relationships that are not important, instead of relationships that are beneficial to you and beneficial to the world and that sort of thing. So those advanced concepts are hard to grasp a hold of. You think about it. So that's where we are. All right, let's go on to the next one. Rod, I'll read the next one, Rodney. You can take the one after this. Spirit-fused survivors occupy the mansion worlds in common with the adjuster-fused ascending mortals. While the various orders of celestial life differ, they are all friendly and fraternal. In all the worlds of ascension, you will find nothing comparable to human intolerance or discrimination of inconsiderate caste systems. So you won't find castes and groups and things like that there. And this is the same picture we started out at the beginning of this with. And it shows when you get to world number two, you're allowed to visit all 7 satellites of world number 2. All right. Rodney, would you take the next one?
As you ascend the mansion worlds one by one, they become more crowded with the Urantia activities of advancing survivors. As you go forward, you will recognize more and more of the Jerusalem features added to the mansion worlds. The Sea of Glass makes its appearance on the second Mansonia.
Mansonia. That's right. So they don't need a sea of glass on the first one, okay? Because you don't have that many people or beings that are traveling in and out of the first mansion world. The first mansion world is really just a training sphere, right? But by the time you get to the second mansion world, you're going to be traveling not only from the second mansion world to all the satellites, but you're going to be going back and forth to the first mansion worlds, and you'll start going to the system capital. And that's what they're talking about. As you go up the mansion worlds higher and higher, more of the appearance and more of the things of the system capital, it will look more and more like the system capital on each of the mansion worlds as you go higher and higher, because more things of the system capital will be incorporated on each world a little bit more as you go up. So it's preparing you to become a system capital citizen. Now, we don't think about things like this, but our goal when we first get to the mansion worlds is become a citizen of the system capital of Satania, right? And this is important because by that time we will have gotten rid of the mark of the beast, all of our bestiality tendencies. So it's really the first world where we're living a life that is free from the curses of the world we came from. And that includes everybody from all the worlds. Okay, so by that time, by the time you get to the system capital, is your first opportunity to experience a world that's closer to what we would consider heaven. Okay, so, and then of course, we train more and more as we go up through the other architecture spheres and eventually get to our local universe capital, but that takes eons and eons of time. So when you get there, you can't think, well, I'm going to pop through all the mansion worlds in a short period of time, and then I'm going to wake up on the system capital, and boy, I'll just pop right off of that and start hitting worlds just as fast as I can. Doesn't happen that way, okay? You live long, long lives on each one of these spheres, and that's part of the problem of the time element involved in going to paradise. It takes billions of years to get to paradise.
We all have to have the same motivation to accomplish that. That's because some people will be confused for quite some time.
They will.
You know.
Yeah, they will for a long period of time. Yeah. Some of them. You know, you got to remember, going from our barbaric world to a spiritual world, we're going to be disoriented like crazy, because our whole life is worked around all of our material things, all of our little petty things, the things in this life that makes it so difficult. So those will eventually all fade away. Okay, so that's part of going through the mansion world process. It's a hard thing to comprehend.
For me, like it's like when we're growing up, we're taught to get a good education so we can get a good job and have a good home and have good family. Mm-hmm. And that's not going to be the way that works.
No,
at all.
It's not. It's a totally different learning experience and living experience, really. All right, Rodney, would you take the next one, please?
Sure. A newly developed and suitable adjusted Urantia body is acquired at the time of each advance from one mansion world to another. You go to sleep with a seraphic transport. and awake with a new but undeveloped body in the resurrection halls, much as when you first arrived on Mansion World #1, except that the thought adjuster does not leave you during these transient sleeps between the mansion worlds. Your personality remains intact after you once pass from the evolutionary worlds to the initial mansion world.
Okay, so y'all imagine this. It's not just waking up on the first mansion world and getting used to your new Urantia body, is it? Because when you go from the second world to the third world to the fourth world to the fifth world, with each world, your body is adjusted for that world. So every time you wake up on the new mansion world you've just been assigned to, you have to adjust yourself to the changes of your new body each time. Does that make sense? Because you're upgraded each time over and over and over.
So your Urantia body develops.
Yes, it develops.
Right.
Right. What were you saying?
Are we still a male, female?
We're still male and female, but we don't have the sexual organs we had before.
But well, that affects the way we see everything.
Yes, it does.
So it become kind of neutral.
No, you maintain all the things that makes you male, the essence of male and female. The only difference is you don't have sex anymore in the sense of physical sex.
So you wouldn't have sexual hormones.
So you don't have sexual hormones, you wouldn't have sexual organs, right? They wouldn't be necessary. Remember that when you get to the first mansion world, you don't have to get rid of, you don't go to the bathroom, don't do number 1 and number 2, as they say anymore, because your new body, whatever you ingest, use 100% of that to add for energy. So when you get to the mansion worlds, the reason you don't find any fat people in heaven, guess why that is? Because when you're satisfied with the intake of whatever food you're eating or whatever, when you're totally satisfied, you won't be hungry for anything again until you actually need something again. So you won't be sitting around eating candy and drinking chocolate cakes, and that sort of thing, right? Because 100% of what you intake will be used in your new body. Make sense?
Yes.
All right. Notice here it says, a newly developed and suitable adjusted Urantia body is acquired at each time of each advance from one mansion world to another. So this happens on every mansion world. The only thing that remains constant is what? Your personality, right? All right, Diane.
Your adjuster memory remains fully intact as you ascend the Urantia life. Those mental associations that were purely animalistic and wholly material naturally perished with the physical brain. But everything in your mental life which was worthwhile and which had survival value was counterparted by the adjuster and is retained as a part of personal memory all the way through the ascendant career. You will be conscious of all your worthwhile experiences as you advance from one mansion world to another, and from one section of the universe to another, even to paradise.
Okay, I hesitate to even go over this paragraph. You know what's coming, don't you?
Oh, yeah.
Every time I teach this paragraph, I think, boy, people are going to hate me for what I'm about to say. All right. Notice here it says your adjuster memory remains fully intact, right? So everything worthwhile, there's the key word, everything worthwhile in your life you will remember. But those associations that were purely animalistic and wholly material, you see that? Those associations perish with the brain. They fall away like scaffolding. So when you wake up on the mansion world, you're not going to remember how great sex was. Okay? You're not going to remember how great it felt to eat candy bars until you were sick. Okay? You're not going to remember drinking until you fall down face first on the floor. Because why? Those are not worthwhile mental associations for your spiritual life. Okay? That's why people's going to hate me. Okay, so anything you did in this life that was spiritually worthwhile, that the adjuster could use to build your soul, all those memories of spiritual advancement, all those memories of love with family and friends, all those memories of relationships of people that were beneficial to you, both you and the other person, those things will be remembered. But you going out chasing women, chasing men for sex and things like that, that's going to fall away and not be remembered at all.
So I think I'll remember my love for my pet.
You'll remember your love for your pet because that's a worthwhile association, is it not? Okay, so just that makes you think, well, there must be some kind of plan for your pets after you die, doesn't it? Because why? Because it's a worthwhile association because your pet loves you and you love your pet. Is love a spiritual association?
Yes.
Yes,
It is. All right. And you will remain, those memories will remain with you for the rest of your existence all the way to paradise. You won't forget them. When you get this new brain, it's not going to be like our brains here that you learned something this morning and you have to reread it tomorrow morning because you can't remember what you read the night before. Okay? So that's the things that I wanted to talk about in this paragraph. The main thing is this: your sexual relationships are of non-spiritual importance. I hate to tell you that.
some people are going to have a harder time with that than others.
They will, but you got to remember that sexual relationship, except for the love involved in it, is useless. And reproduction, that's all it's good for. Okay? So if you didn't love someone and you ran out and had sex with him, you think you're going to remember that?
Doesn't sound like it.
Doesn't sound like it, does it? I dated women when I was in the Navy. I couldn't tell you their names to save my life. You know?
We don't have to go into
Okay? That's the way it is. Those type of things fall off over time. All right? Okay. Let me see if I can find a really big, long paragraph here for Gary when he comes up.
My name is Jose Jimenez.
Okay, I'll read this next one. Though you, did I just read it?
I don't know.
Okay,
You've been talking.
I'll read it anyway. Though you have Urantia bodies, you continue through all 7 of these worlds to eat, drink, and rest. Does it say anything about sex?
No.
No.
Eating.
You
Can
partake.
can you modify that in any way?
No, I didn't write it. I just read it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Okay. You partake in the Urantia order of food, a kingdom of living energy unknown on the material worlds. Both food and water are fully utilized in the Urantia body. You see this? Fully utilized? That's what they mean. You use every bit of it. There is no residual waste. There it is. So you won't have bathrooms in the mansion worlds. Pause to consider. Mansonia number 1 is a very material sphere presenting the early beginnings of the Urantia regime. you are still a near human and not far removed from the limited viewpoints of mortal life. But each world discloses definite progress. From sphere to sphere, you grow less material and more intellectual, and slightly more spiritual. The spiritual progress is greatest on the last three of the seven progressive worlds. So you slowly get rid of this concept of being material in your life. So no bathrooms, you use everything, every bit of everything you eat or drink.
So it's interesting how important H2O is.
Yeah.
Even for Urantia.
Even for Urantia beings, right? Water seems to be in every single type of being in the universe, which is kind of interesting. Okay. Another interesting thing about water is water, when you break down the constituents of water, the hydrogen and oxygen, you can use water to put out a fire, but you can use either one of the constituents of H2O to create fire.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah.
So if you're really smart, like the guy in Florida was, he figured out how to create energy out or fire out of water. All right, Rodney, would you take the next one, please?
Yes. Biological deficiencies were largely made up on the first mansion world. There are defects in planetary experiences pertaining to sex life, family association, and parental function were either corrected or were projected for future rectification among the material sun families on Jerusalem.
Okay, so if you didn't get experience with sex and raising children in your lifetime, you have to make up these concepts later on with the material sons and daughters families, which is kind of interesting because when you get your new Urantia bodies, you don't have sexual organs anymore, do you? So if you have to make up these concepts, all you can do is do what? Watch and learn, and that's it.
But it makes you what you would gain from it, because
I'm not sure. Yeah, I have no answer for that. So, okay. This is a nice long one. This is Gary's. Unmute, Gary, so we can hear you.
Doing.
There you go.
Had a wrong day. Okay.
It's all right.
Montana number 1. Is that right?
Number 2.
No, I meant, oh God, am I crazy? Montana number 2 more specifically provides for the removal of all phases of intellectual conflict.
We can't hear you, Gary. We barely hear you.
Oh.
Get a little closer or something. Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
We can.
Okay. I can't hear you, but okay. Montana number 2 more specifically provides for the removal of all phases of intellectual conflict and for the cure of all varieties of mental disharmony. The effort to master the significance of Urantia Moda began on the first mansion world is here more earnestly continued. The development on Montana number 2 compares with the intellectual status of the magisterial sun culture of the ideal evolutionary worlds. What does Moda mean?
That is the philosophy and the spiritual uplifting of yourself in the Urantia form. So it's the religion and philosophy, if you would, of Urantia. the higher level, the next level up of existence. So you could consider it your religion and philosophy, and in the Urantia state more than anything else. Urantia
I
mode.
had a phone that used to ring and it just says, "Hello, Moto."
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
It was kind of confusing me. It's Moda.
yeah.
Roger, I do have a question about this.
Yes,
Whereas we never received a magisterial son yet on
right.
this planet, of course we received Michael. Would we be considered about the same?
I would say not, Rodney, because only because we did not spiritually learn 1/100,000th of what we should have learned from Michael. Okay, because we crucified him. Okay, if we would have been more respectful and listen to what Michael had to teach and say, we would be farther higher of the post-magisterial son age, but we didn't do that. We ignored him and killed him, right? So it's our own fault that we're not. But normally, the second mansion world is about equal of what the next age would have been on this planet, which still, as we are right now today, is still next in the next age, because we stepped into almost a totally material age, this age we're in right now.
Correct.
Right. So until we get over the material age, we can't step into a more spiritual age 100%. Now it's happening all over the world a little bit at a time. I don't want to say, I don't want to throw water on the fire, but it's just not happening at great responses. When you see hundreds of thousands of people, let me give you an example. When you see hundreds of thousands of people going out trying to get a blessing from a pope, which is a person, which is a human being, right? When you see people standing around for hours trying to get a blessing for a pope, why is that? That's because they've made a connection with their spiritual self. They know that the spiritual life is the most important part of life. So these people will go to great lengths and everything they possibly can to stay spiritually in line with Jesus. And that's what they should do, right? Not that I agree with the Pope or anything like that. It's just the fact that this shows you that the spiritual age that's coming is already in starting and just not into full fruition. When it becomes in full fruition, then hundreds of millions of people will be saved. In other words, will realize their salvation. And the thing that will be most important to them will be learning about the future spiritual life. Okay, and that's what the big difference is. So we're not at that post-magisterial son age because we really haven't had the magisterial son. We've had a creator son, which we tried to ignore. We went all the way to the point of trying to kill him instead of listening to what he had to say. Now, what's happened? We have a revelation, 1934, 1935. We have a revelation that brings out all these wonderful gifts and things that God and Jesus is trying to teach us. But have we embraced the revelation yet? No. Why do you think crazy people like me spend their whole lives, all their time trying to push this revelation? It's because it's the most important thing in our lives. And people don't realize it. Okay, that's why we do it. So you out there in listening land, if you listen, if you want to help out with this revelation, go out and subscribe to our channel. Because what that'll do is it'll push it out. It'll push it out to more and more and more people. And that's why we do this. We do this so that we can enlighten as many people as we can before they come to that last moment in life and they say, I've wasted my life. I didn't learn anything. you know, and that happens all the time.
I'll give you an example of this. If people would embrace Jesus's commandments, love the Father, and do unto others, we wouldn't have wars.
None at all.
It's that simple.
Yeah, it is. It
And
is
this
that simple.
life, other than the material, feeding yourself and whatever, is not that complicated.
No, it's not. And we get to this post magisterial sun culture, those sort of things will happen. The wars will go away, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Third mansion world. I spent all that time getting through one section. All right, Diane.
5. The third mansion world. Mansonia, the third, is the headquarters of the mansion world teachers. Though they function on all 7 of the mansion spheres, they maintain their group headquarters at the center of the school circles of world number 3. There are millions of these instructors on the mansion and higher Urantia worlds. These advanced and glorified cherubim serve as Urantia teachers all the way up from the mansion worlds to the last sphere of local universe ascendant training. They will be among the last to bid you an affectionate adieu when the farewell time draws near, the time when you bid goodbye, at least for a few ages, to the universe of your origin, when you and Seraphim for transit to the receiving worlds of the minor sector of the super universe.
So these abandoned cherubim, these are the cherubim that were assigned to people. And when they went on to the mansion worlds, they didn't have a job anymore, right? So they become teachers on the mansion worlds. And these teachers are from world number 1 all the way up through world number 7. And they will help teach you the things you need to know. And they know you well because they've been assigned to a human being at some point and gone through a whole life with that human being. Okay.
Can you explain that last part of the paragraph?
Yeah, let me go back up here.
They will be among the last to bid you an affectionate adieu. When the time draws near, what are they going to do? Chop your head off, or
no? Yeah. This is when they will say goodbye to you for the last time, for you leaving the 7 mansion worlds and becoming a local universe system, the system headquarter universe person. Okay, so you won't be going back when you get to the system headquarters. Basically, you won't have any reason to keep going back to the mansion worlds indefinitely, and you'll only do that until your friends and relatives join you on the system capital. And after that, you won't have any reason to keep going back to the mansion worlds. Does that make sense?
Kind of. So
because you will have already had
once we get to the mansion world, we will not have completed our ascension process.
Right. You wouldn't have completed your ascension process.
It's kind of like a holding area until all your friends and relatives catch up with you.
That's exactly right. Now, keep in mind.
You know how dumb some of my friends and relatives are?
I know, but keep in mind, part of your job is going to be going back and forth teaching these people that are behind you. Okay? Part of the job is teaching those who come up behind you what you have learned so that you are certified on what you know. And that's how they know you are certified. So the only way they can know you've learned your lessons if you teach your lessons to someone else.
Oh.
All right. But once you've done that, and once you've been certified as an advanced status, and they don't require you to go back and teach people any longer, then you won't have any reason to go back to the mansion world. You will be past that.
Okay, right? Now that explains it more.
So that's what they're talking about. They will be the last to bid you an affectionate adieu when your farewell time draws near. In other words, when you get to the point where you have no purpose to go back to the mansion worlds behind you over and over again to teach folks because you've already done the job. Make sense?
Mhm. Yes.
Everybody,
So
you
when
with?
I get finished telling everybody I told you so.
That's right. When you get finished telling everybody, I told you so. And this is Mansion World number 2, and you can visit the other satellites when you get there. You can look at these pictures later. All right. I guess I'm up again. When sojourning on the first Mansion World, you have permission to visit the first of the transition worlds, the headquarters of the Finalators and the system probationary nursery for the nurture of undeveloped system children. When you arrive on Mansonia number 2, you receive permission periodically to visit Transition World number 2, where are located the Urantia Supervisor headquarters for all Satania and the training schools for the various Urantia orders. When you reach Mansion World number 3, you are immediately granted a permit to visit the third transition sphere, the headquarters of the Angelic Order, and the home of the various system training schools. Visits to Jerusalem from this world are increasingly profitable and are ever heightening interest to the advancing mortals. Now, why do you think that is? Think about it. If this is the world of the angels, and the angels have experienced so much with individual mortals through their lives, right? By visiting with them, they get to relate to you, and you get to relate to them the experiences of life that help to benefit and raise you up over time. And because of this information, it makes you visiting the system capital and making sense of things easier.
But isn't that
what we go to college for, to learn things and to have people teach us. And then we reach a point where we graduate and then go and then we teach.
Yeah.
I mean, so it's the same process. It's just on a much lower level, of course.
Yeah,
than
it is. Yeah, it really is the same exact process. You think about it.
Hey, Roger,
Yeah.
it would be very helpful if you could easily go to the map that shows Jerusalem and the mansion worlds and the other spheres surrounding it.
Uh-huh.
Can you easily go there?
Yeah, I can get there easily.
Okay.
You want to go there right now?
Yes, we can check
Yeah.
out what we're
What we're talking about. Okay, so everybody remember your place. We're on 5-3, right?
Okay.
So let's go back up here to the picture of the map. Probably an easier way to do this. I could have brought it up on the other one, just unshared it. There we go.
There you go.
Okay. So we're talking about, well, this is small enough. I don't know if we can see it well enough.
Small.
We're starting out on this one here, Mansion World number 1, right? Then we talked about Mansion World number 2. Now we're talking about Mansion World number 3, which is the angelic world. Right here.
Yeah. However, the mansion worlds are around sphere number 1.
Yes, they are.
Correct? Yeah.
Right. But they're talking about the satellites.
Okay.
Rodney. So when you make it to, all right, so let me try to make sense of this for everybody. When you get there, you're on this first world, right? Okay. Mansion World number 1, and you get clearance to go to the Finalator world, which is the main world number 1, and you get clearance to go to the other mansion worlds because you get clearance to go to that Finalator world. But you can't stay there. You can only visit, right? Okay. Now, as you go up to Mansion World number 2, you get permission to go to satellite number 2.
Okay.
Okay. And on that permission, it also gives you permission to go to all the satellites around number 2.
Oh.
Okay. Because you're on Mansion World number 2. Now, when you get to Mansion World number 3, you get clearance to go to satellite number 3.
Okay.
Which is the angelic world and all the worlds that surround it. I lost my mouse again here. There we go. Okay. Now, when you get to 4, you get clearance to go to 4. And the same way with 5, you get 5, 6, and 7. And with each one of these, you get clearance to go to each one of those satellites with each one. And
Okay,
by the time you get to the end, you have gotten clearance for all 56 satellites, right?
At what point can we visit Jerusalem?
From 2 onward.
okay. Now, guy, let me clarify this. We land in world number 1, the big bulb.
Yeah, well,
And we
that's
got
not the big. That's the world number 1's not the big ball. It's the small ball, the first satellite of the big ball, or the first one, the finale of the world.
okay.
But
Then from there we can visit the satellite of world 2, number 1.
no, from there we can visit the satellite of number 1 and all the others, all 7 of the mansion worlds.
Okay, then we go to number 2 when we get better.
That's right.
Right here. No, the satellite. We evolve from satellite 1, 2, 3.
Yeah,
4, 5,
when we
6.
get to this second mansion world, which is this little one right here, Gary, can you see that?
Yeah.
Okay, when we get to that, we can go to this world, the second one.
Okay, so when we get to the third one, we can go to the third world and visit around.
Right. That's
Now
right.
we got to make all these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We got to go evolve around the 7 ones by our spiritual progress.
That's right, by our spiritual progress. Now, when you land on number 1, Gary, Mansion World number 1, you can only go to Mansion World, to the satellite number 1, and you're very restricted about the other 7 mansion worlds.
Okay.
Okay.
So
It's not like soon as you hit 1, you get to go to all 7 of the mansion worlds. That's
what's
not
this
what
big bulb for then? What does that represent?
in the center.
Yeah.
That's Jerusalem. That's the system capital.
Okay, that's the ball in the center.
Yeah. What the goal is to slowly go through each one of these mansion worlds and each one of these satellites till you hit all 56. Then you graduate and go to Jerusalem.
Okay. I get a little bit better. So we land on number 1.
Right.
Okay. And once we go there, we can get better and go to 2, satellite number 2. All right. And
Yeah.
then we can visit the worlds or the satellites around world number 2.
Right.
Then when we get to the next stage up is 3, then we can do the same thing there.
Right.
And by the time we get to 7, we've been around the world, around the universe.
Yeah.
Well, we've been around all of the system of Satania's satellites. That's all we've done. Now remember, there's 619 inhabited planets, where this Jerusalem, this capital, is the head of 619 planets.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe
Okay.
more.
Maybe more by now.
Yeah, we
Eventually
may
1,000.
Eventually 1,000. That's right. So it's important to get citizenship in Jerusalem, because that's our main, that's our system headquarters. And we can't go outside our system till we've done this. Now, once we get outside our system, we start on all the rest of the 519 or 47 or something like that, spheres that we have to go through to get to the local universe capital. Okay? Make sense?
no, it kind of lost me.
Well,
So
it's a
Jerusalem
progression thing. In other words, you have to go through all of these before you go out past this into the constellation to other
To Urantia?
to Urantia, the constellation headquarters, and go through all those worlds, right? And it's just a progression. You just keep going.
So with this is step 1.
This is step 1. That's right.
And then we go to the next step, and I'm going to assume there's 7 basically steps.
Pretty much everything is in 7s, it seems to be.
Yeah.
Now, I say
Okay.
that, but that's not exactly true because some of the capitals have 70 spheres, all right? And the local universe capital has 500 and something, okay? So, it depends on how high it is, it gets to be more and more and more planets. The point is this, Gary, if you are spiritually prepared, when you leave this world, when you graduate from this world, which is what I work on every single day, it's a full-time job. If I'm spiritually prepared, when I wake up on this first mansion world, if I don't spiritually belong on that world, they kick me to what? Number 2, right? And
Oh,
then in
because
10
of your
days,
now wait a second. They kick you to number 2 if you're too advanced for world 1.
yes.
Okay,
And
so it's not like you're defective and they can't kick it to can't
no, because you have to come back and train people on all these worlds regardless of where you end up.
So you're
Maybe it's
trying to skip a world, right?
educational.
Huh?
Yeah,
In a sense, you're trying to skip a world.
No, I'm trying to skip all these worlds and end up on the system capital because if you become spiritually high enough and fuse with your adjuster, when you leave this planet, you're going to end up a citizen on Jerusalem.
Like Elijah.
Yes.
but you
Uh,
still have to
you still have to
visit.
go back to these worlds and train people. But the difference is you're spiritually advanced so that your home is considered Jerusalem, not mentioned world number 1.
Okay.
All
And
right.
that makes pretty good sense because even if you're, say, you made Elijah status and you went to Jerusalem, okay, one of the best ways to learn a subject is to teach it. And seeing as how you have to go back and teach,
Yes.
you're going to learn. So when it comes
Right.
time for you to leave Jerusalem and go on to the next world, okay, you're going to be well fit. You're just not
That
going to be,
that's right.
you
So your
can't
goal
fake your
is
way, you can't fake the test questions.
no, you can't, but your goal is to end up on the world as high as you can when you leave this world to be on the spiritual level of those who are equal to you. Okay? And then you still got to go back and teach all these people. There's no you can't bypass experience. It's just the way it works. But you got to look at it this way. We got to do this process anyway, but wouldn't you like to wake up on Jerusalem on after you leave this planet and feel like you've accomplished something in your life? Because this little planet, the first mansion world, and our little pea brains, I don't care how much I teach this stuff and learn this stuff and all this, we still have a human brain, don't we? We have
Yep.
we have pea brains. That's the way it works. And so the important lessons and the Urantia moda and that sort of thing, we will not gain until we get into our Urantia form. And when we get in our Urantia form, when we learn this stuff, you learn it one time. You don't have to do it like I do. You don't have to go in and read it and read it and read it again and try to teach other people and read it and read it and read it and regurgitate it over and over and over again because your Morantia brain retains it the first time through.
You know what that means, Roger?
Yeah, I waste a lot of time, but that's my job.
No. You should be very thankful for me because I'm your dumbest student.
Actually, Gary, you're
Oh,
not. I got something that's
mhm.
you're not even in the ballpark of my dumbest students. Listen, y'all, we're out of time, so we're gonna have to come back to wherever it was we left off.
5-3.
5-3. Okay, we'll come back to 5-3 next time. Let me swap out the share here, and we're gonna have to close on this one. Okay, man. Roddy, would you like to read the prayer tonight?
Yes, of course. I believe that God is my paradise Father, and that only by faith am I saved. No sacrifice is necessary. By the same faith, I became a child of God, and know that all men and women are my brothers and sisters. We know the Son of God, the sovereign of our universe, of Nebaton, is Christ Michael, Jesus of Nazareth. By allowing the will of God to become my will, I will someday stand in the presence of the Paradise Father. In the name of Christ Michael, Jesus of Nazareth. Amen.
Amen. And thank you, everyone out there that's joined us today. And we'll watch this later. Please remember to subscribe to YouTube. I'm trying to get the numbers up so they push our videos out. So it's a hard road to run. I can tell you that. Just getting them to, I can put out videos and they sit there, don't ever get any views. It's because they don't get pushed out by YouTube. So that's the way it works.
Thank you, Roger.
Oh, you're welcome. And I will see everybody on Tuesday. The creek don't rise.
Take care, Gary.
You too, Gary.
Love you guys.
Love you guys too. All right, let me shut this down. Bye-bye, everybody.